Didn't see it. Public. Why don't we go ahead and get today's meeting of March the 18th started? It's 10:02. Is there anybody out there in the public that needs to speak or wants to speak? Please, Miss Jody.
Nobody that's saying that they want to say anything. Here. I don't think so.
All right, no comments from the public. Let's move on to the consent agenda. The approval of the minutes of February the 8th, our regular meeting. And then the harbor master's report, February the 20th of 2025.
I'm over the minutes.
We have a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Minutes.
The minutes. What about the harbor master's report?
Just, let's separate the. No, we don't include it on our master report. I'll be happy to do that in chairman's instructions, and so include the harbor master
There was
report.
no instruction, that was just a look.
Yes, I got it. The daggers.
We have a motion by Mike to accept the minutes and the harbor master report. And Ms. Sue seconded that. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
We,
Agenda moves.
this one quick, one thing there is a slideshow is mentioned. Could we get a copy of that? I missed that on the way by.
Remind me what,
Slideshow that Lance made from Formosa.
I don't know that let me go back and, I don't remember. If I got it, then I would have, if I didn't, I may not have received it.
Get that to you.
Why don't we just get it and circulate to the commissioners, because that's background information.
Yeah.
And he'd be happy to give it to us. That wouldn't any no objection, so.
If we have it already, you will, it will be.
I have it.
Oh, you have it?
All right.
Oh, good, okay.
Let's move on then to the reports, receive financial reports of the port revenue funds, Fairfield, Florida County Agent Report Payment, Revenue and Expenditure Reports Balance Sheet, Profit and Loss Cash Flow. Ms. Brittany, please.
Good morning. Nothing new to note on the tariff reports, except that we are all up to date.
Way down on the tariff reports on Gulfmark and Helena. Are we just not having transfers across the dock, or what's that noticeable different? 50 and
57.
50, about $100,000 year to date that we're short.
They just sold in the last 60 to 90 days. So I'm sure they're probably kind of looking at things, trying to figure things out.
Is it possible that rail spur is causing a lot of the problem? You know, we're $100,000 a month is not a good number.
No, yeah, no. They're, they Biltmore had a terminal that they didn't even use, a terminal of their own, on their own property, but they didn't even use inventory. So I don't know how this thing is gonna shake out completely at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But we can talk about, I think we're gonna talk about some of that here.
In a little bit, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Let's move on to the account aging report.
It's absolutely impressed the lack of overdue, man.
Well, our 100% Riley has let us down.
I did talk
He
to
was
you.
bragging last time.
Okay, Mr. Galerius has paid.
Okay,
So that one's paid. Mrs. Wiley, I have emailed her, called her twice, left messages, no response. And I checked this morning and she still hadn't paid.
okay. Well, appreciate the follow-up and the work on that. Let's stay on Ms. Wiley, and we're not gonna let them get away from us like we have in the past. Now that we have Riley on board, and thank you so much for what you do.
But you did talk to Jack, right?
Yeah, he did pay. We emailed and then he did, pay. I checked this morning and he had paid.
Okay.
We don't have a credit card on all of these people, or Ms. Wiley's not.
Miss Wiley has not took some
Hadn't.
time.
I thought that was part of the requirements on the new leases.
Well, there's just a handful that don't.
And most of them are on automatic.
Yeah, I think there's just a couple that aren't on automatic draft.
Thinking that was a new requirement to make it easier for us to collect. Let's move on to the payment report.
She's always fine. We do for that. She's. You know, we hounded her here before the last meeting and got her caught up. And
But I mean, why she's not on automatic?
think she got a credit card. I don't know.
That's the draft, of the bank, not card.
I understand.
I know, but she's not on the draft.
No, she's not.
So that's what I'm
know
saying, why
why.
she's not. So, yeah,
I mean, we can tell her, say, hey, you either need to do this or
get out.
Or get out.
I know that Mike had really tightened up those leases. The last presentation, I think, did include credit card requirement.
Yes, I do.
That last incarnation you made for us. So let's look at that, stay on top of it. Move on then to the payment report.
I will just make note that you will see two payments for the water, for January and February, just because the month fell out.
A lot of water.
everything was doing pretty good and we had a big spike on the 20th. I mean, like 13,000 gallons in 3 hours.
I'll do it.
I don't even know that's, I don't even know if that's even possible.
Talk about a 6-inch line.
I just don't think that. Karen, you know, she was working on something, I hadn't got back with her, but she was trying to run. And of course, Jody and Brittany know more about this than I do, but they have the ability to go
Yes.
and see exactly how much water usage there is, up down to like a minute. And she was working on something, she keyed it in, we were on the phone talking last week, or maybe it could have been, yeah, it was probably Friday. And she keyed it in, she goes, this isn't right, I'll have to get back with you. So it wasn't, whatever was going on with it.
Since we are part of the city, I would think that if there's a question about possibly it being the meter, because you said that it would go forward and backwards and all of a sudden you might request that to get changed, you know?
It is brand new meter, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Maybe it's a new faulty meter.
You know, I guess, I mean, I haven't had time, I need a little bit of help to do this, is, you know, we need to cut the water off and try to figure out where, you know, if it is going somewhere else.
We just need a few more hours in the day so you can do that.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna, I got somebody that's gonna help me, they just been busy, they hadn't had time, to come by and help.
All right.
Let me ask a quick question. Contracted services compensation plan, that's a new entry on the second page, 33.
That is the third party compensation rate study that we were doing. So that got split between different funds, being that there's two employees for Port Commission, a portion of that total amount got coded to Port Commission. It's for the salary survey.
So that report's costing the city $30,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah, it's about 37,500, but it got a certain percentage was coded to.
I hear you. Who's in the leakage?
Trying to stop some of those ways. Let's move on to the revenue and expenditure report.
The goal for, as of February, is 42%. So I just want to make note that I know that the revenues say 32%, but if you take away the grant aspect, it's actually 49%. So we're doing good.
Did you take away what?
The grants, the grant
Okay.
part of it.
Yes. I'm sorry.
And then move on to the balance sheet.
Balance sheet is still pretty consistent. Nothing has really changed in balances. There's obviously an increase in the interest, but the cash part is about the same as it was.
Move on to the profit and loss snapshot.
I will make note on the expense side, I did state last meeting that we had to make a transfer from Port Commission to their debt funds, so you will see those on there this month.
Well, I missed that completely. What did you just say?
I'm sorry. On the expense cash and profit, last month I did state that we had to make a transfer from 504 to the debt fund, so you'll see that on this. Okay.
On the nautical landing, we're substantially behind. Is that just all the maintenance and repairs we've been doing, Jim? We're almost $10,000 year to date behind the revenue.
Probably, yes. I end up having to rebuild that. Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah.
We had to rebuild, I mean, the whole thing was fixing to blow out, so, you know, where the old storage is. All those posts, steel posts all rotted off, so I had to rebuild all that. That was probably exactly what it was. It was around $4,000 some dollars. Of course, we're starting back to work on the storm covers. I mentioned to him last week, I said, look, I don't want to get caught with my pants down, so to speak, with these, we get a storm and we don't have any covers, so. They're supposed to be back on that the next day or so, or they may be there today. I don't know.
It's been back. I just noticed it, it's been back a couple of months and we're doing well in the revenue side, but we have a couple of expenses. And it's just part of the maintenance of the building.
Dude, we're not bidding in that workout. We're just giving it fair, but.
Yes.
Well, I want to make the comment.
Yeah, if it's under $5,000, we're not required to.
No, I know, I'm just saying that he's bidding jobs on private. He's way out of line. Factor 3 or 4 out of line. To private people.
Well, I don't,
So it's okay. I mean, that's their deal, but
I
I
mean,
mean, they've got some, whoever was getting that.
he's got been doing any private work. I mean,
That's exactly why.
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's
he's got work and he knows.
He's done a lot of work for the school district.
So the question always comes back is if he's doing that to the private, is he doing fairly to the city?
Well, he
That's the
doesn't, he doesn't want that job. I can tell you that.
Well, and I mean, we're open to, it's just hard to find contractors that do something.
That meet all the city, yeah, that meet all the city requirements. That's part of the problem, you know?
But we do have a couple of.
If you've got another contractor that will work for the city cheaper, bring them in.
Yeah, you know,
That's got.
everybody's got the problem.
Yeah.
But as I was just surprised at his bidding a private job, the level of out of line he was.
He's trying to make a living because he's losing on the city. The bids are so low.
The anger you create in potential private clients is not trivial. He'd do that to me once. I'd be the end of that.
All right.
All of that, you just need to pay attention to it.
I think that Jim stays on top of it. So does Jody and Brittany. Let's move on to the city manager's report, please. Thank you, Brittany.
We got, Texas Parks and Wildlife grant, renovations, it's going to breakwater. Here, construction had a delay, the contract documents back, so hospitalization of a key Derrick construction at the port. That Blaze has a contract documents executed, by Derrick now, and we'll get them to us, mayor's signature and schedule pre-construction conference soon. Matt, do you have any update on that? Okay, he pipes in. CDBG Mint Coastal Resiliency Living Shoreline Project. I've attached a copy of the latest progress report for the period January through February, through the end of February, as well as a copy recently completed coastal boundary survey required for this project. The Restore grant, which is the cleanup of the old barges in the harbor, our consultant Griffin reports that the nationwide permit application was successfully submitted on. So we're waiting for, I believe it's a 45-day period, before next steps. CDBG Mint Round 2 application for the use of funds for replacement of culverts under the rail corporation ditch and the voluntary restoration of refuge shoreline. I did send an email out to the Port Commission and Council a couple weeks ago, letting y'all know that the $9.1 million round 2 funding has finally been approved by GLO. The mayor is still waiting for the contract. We sent to him via DocuSign. Once he gets that, he'll sign it, and then we'll have an executed contract soon after that. Next steps will be to award an engineering contract to Urban Engineering for the Harbor of Refuge Shoreline Project and to Mont McDonald for the Corporation Ditch Drainage Culvert replacements. So we can't do that until after we've got the contract signed and executed. The GLO Kepler grant, which is the Harbor Refuge Shoreline Protection Project. We discussed this project with GLO on March 6th. The application for the Army Corps permit for this project should be ready to submit this spring or early summer. It'll take 12 to 18 months to receive a permit for construction. The plan is to apply for Kepler funding for construction in May of 2027 for this project. If approved, the construction would probably be done in 2029. I received clarification that contrary to what I was told when we applied for this funding 2 years ago, that because the project is strictly shoreline protection, we do not have to provide public access along the shoreline. This is good news for our future use and lease opportunities at the Harbor Refuge. Matterhorn Bay Mitigation Trust Grant Downtown Waterfront Public Access Improvement Project. Matt Glaze is trying to get an update from the Corps on what we might expect for the fishing dock and boardwalk along the seawall. He texted me this morning and he thought the public comment period was over March 25th. So, no comments, at least that's one step in the right direction to getting the permit. If we can get some idea from the Corps that an approximate date, we may consider making an application for construction funding at the boardwalk for the GLO CMP grant, which is due on June 4th. So we're just still looking at that. There's no point in applying for it if we can't tell the GLO that we have understanding from the Army Corps of when we would expect a permit and that we will be getting a permit. The TxDOT truck route signs, I've reached out to TxDOT several times this month for an update on when the pre-construction conference will be scheduled. I did hear back and was told that the pre-construction conference has not yet been scheduled. But I am on the list to notify when it is scheduled. This truck sign installation is included in this TxDOT project.
Can we go direct to the district engineer and ask him?
Yes, I mean, that's who I'm talking to.
Let's go to the boss. I hear this,
Well, I called the governor's office, I guess.
do you have permission us to reach out? I reach out to him directly? 6 years. Now we're 6 years into it.
No, but I mean, it is in their
I know.
construction project and we have to go through they've let it, it's been awarded. They just haven't scheduled a pre-construction conference yet. And then we'll be able to talk to the contractor and get an idea when. I provided some information at the Texas Ports Association. We are now finally shown on the front page of the TPA website as a corporate member of TPA. If you click on our logo, it takes you to Ports and Harbors web page of the City of Port Lavaca's page. On there is a hyperlink to the Port Commission page where the Port Commissioners are listed, as well as agenda and minutes of the Port Commission meetings. We're working on an exhibit each for the Harbor Refuge lease tracks, the City Harbor lease tracks, and the nautical landings boat slips to link from our Ports and Harbors page as well as other improvements to the page. TxDOT Maritime Division. If you click that link and then go to Texas Ports, we are listed under shallow draft as City of Port Lavaca Ports and Harbors, which takes the user to the City of Port Lavaca Ports and Harbors web page. If you notice, there are other ports on the TxDOT page that have what's called a profile sheet. I recently had a conversation with Emily Maybauer with TxDOT, and she tells me that they're beginning to work on developing the 90th legislative session Texas Port Mission Plan. And so they'll be getting with us probably sometime this summer to sit down with us and help us to develop a port profile for ourselves. And in the meantime, we can start doing research and try to develop something on front of it. They will help us develop a final draft that they can then upload to their website. I did email this information to commissioner members early this month. The March PAAC meeting is on March 26th at 1 o'clock, from 1 to 3. Tim and I plan to attend virtually, and I did get a message from Robert Knox that he intends to join in as well. And I'll forward the invite to anyone else that would like to attend. Or if you would prefer, Jim and I will be watching here at City Hall. You're free to come on down and log into the meeting with us here at City Hall. When I'm on the list to receive quarterly TxDOT Maritime newsletter reports, and I will forward copies to all the commissioners when I get them. I guess that's it.
90th legislative session that ends in 27.
That's gotta be for the next one, yeah.
I'm sorry, right? So it's 2 years from now, on the 90th?
From the next legislative session.
Yeah, which is 27.
Because they're working on their, Fort mission plan for the next, session.
Going back to, your report agenda item 5. At the way that peninsula and that is collapsing, is there not something we can do to move that forward? You're saying construction, if approved, will begin in 29?
Well, what this project is, if you remember, these,
We won't have anything to protect if we wait that long. I'm afraid we get a storm or two in here.
well, item 4 is, the voluntary restoration of the refuge shoreline. That one has to do with the site where the landfill is. Now, item 5, which that deals with the Lavaca Bay side of the peninsula. And so,
That's what I'm referring to. That's washing away
I mean,
dramatically.
I don't wanna go to jail, so the core, we have to
We
wait.
look good in stripes. It wouldn't matter. Just,
I mean, what's on the limiting factor is getting the core permit.
is there something creative that we as a city can do to mitigate that?
I mean.
Is there an
that's-
emergency vehicle we have a nationwide permit that we've been able to operate under for years. Is there not a vehicle we can utilize?
I find out, I mean, the only thing you could put some, I guess you could, there's not much of a beach there at all, whether you could put some riprap on the the upland of the beach area. I say upland, at the shoreline of the beach.
All we
There's
need
not
to
much
do,
room there.
all we need to do is advise, the Corps of Engineers that we're doing something and tell them it's an emergency. Again, we can probably build out to our original edges of our property with something.
Rip wrap or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It just,
Up again, but I'm not aware of anything, but I'll bring it up to them again.
we haven't visited with Mr. Fisher in quite some time. And he's the one that told us all we need to do is send a letter to the Corps of Engineers. He may have some information, an emergency, a shortcut.
About the Lavaca side of the peninsula,
No,
that's a different animal.
but we still have the permits for that harbor.
But that was on the harbor itself, not the Lavaca Bay side of the peninsula. On the inland, yes, where we got money for bulkheading or whatever we can do, we can work on the inland side. See, this is a different animal. We're on the shoreline or the Lavaca Bay side of the peninsula. That's what this project was.
Alice, how many feet?
Is there something we can do? Someone we can reach out to?
Wrap without any kind of permitting, as long as you didn't get it in the water,
I don't know how you get it. I mean, if on the shore, there's not much beach there.
No.
Half that peninsula is gone in the last few years, especially that last big storm we had.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
And I mean, I can tell you that the plan is to, I mean, what the permit is showing is that, again, we're in the preliminary design phase. But we would cut that slope back some, because it's right now, it just drops straight
Yes.
shot. Cut that back some with some kind of probably riprap or whatever along the shoreline, and then creating breakwaters out into the water that then will receive beneficial fill as it comes in.
I think one of the biggest problems with that shoreline, all of that whole peninsula is nothing more than, old spoil when they dug all that.
Right.
So
I mean, I
that
think
peninsula-
it's basically back to its original, everything else that's eroded was spoiled from when they dug.
And the problem is it's all real soft. It's not like there's a lot of that old Beaumont clay. which is a little harder.
I guess I'm arguing so much because I don't want to hear why we can't or how we can't. I want to hear how we can and how we're gonna do it.
I will reach out and see if they're,
Like I said, reach out to Eddie. We haven't heard from him in years. There's liable to be somebody at the GLO or someplace.
we're talking, this is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm freaked out when I see the 29th on there.
Well, they'll come, I'll tell you this, I know this for a fact, 'cause I did it on my place. They'll come out, they'll do a line of delineation. And so as long as you're not on that opposite side of that line, you're good. You can do whatever you want. And of course, they love the riprap. And, it promotes,
And you haven't called them yet?
no.
Well, our.
Something.
Okay, I will look into it and bring you back engineering costs, engineering estimates, because it would take design, and construction dollars.
Doesn't take engineers and design to throw riprap out in the bay.
Okay.
How many feet are?
As long as I'm not, yeah.
Probably a little over 1,000, because that outside is really long.
It's the
I think inside we figured what.
outflow from across city.
Yeah, about 1,000.
Drainage ditch. It's the outflow, it's below the outflow from the drainage ditch.
Yes.
And it is, and I have to admit, it's a shame to let that go, because if we lose it. Let's get
I
back.
didn't mean to hammer on that so much. It's just, again, trying to find an answer, not a reason why not.
Reach out.
All right, thank you so much. Move on to receive Harbor Master's Operation Report. City Harbor Nautical Landing Building, Nautical Landing Marina, Smith Harbor, and Harbor Refuge.
City Harbor, as you recall, Gonzalez worked on those watches for me. That, were CH1 slip and CH2 in that general area. I had Barefoot go down and open it up with his track hoe. We went down there and climbed all up underneath. And that actual area is probably has at least 8 inches of concrete on the backside of that old steel sheet pile wall. And, where the whaler came across, there was openings at an angle line, and of course, the bottom angle was the whaler. And it appeared to me that where those openings were, that were framed in there, that's where all the dirt was going, from the water, erosion, whatever. So we came in there and we cleaned all that off real good with the pressure washer, and we sprayed a high density foam in those areas to seal it all off. And then we had Public Works come and bring some material, and we shoved it back up underneath there as tight as we could. So I don't think we'll have any problems with that for quite some time, actually.
You should have taken advantage of Mr. Barefoot being down there with that excavator and drug off that big piece of pipe on the low dock on the Evelyn side. Been laying there for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I've mentioned that to Curtis a couple of times. It's a piece of that big plastic.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, plastic, yeah. Let's see, and then nautical landings building, still messing with the windows. In the storm covers. The water usage has actually been pretty good. We've kept a pretty good eye on that, and it has not been overly high. I think we figured maybe 20 gallons an hour or something on the norm. Nothing that really jumped out at us. Nautical Landings, Marina, Horizon Environmental, they've been there 16 times since the last DC meeting. Like we mentioned earlier, that water usage, it was clipping along pretty good. And it was running 20, 30 gallons an hour. And then all of a sudden, this huge spike, and it was on the 20th. And I want to think it was from like 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It was like 13,000 gallons.
I don't know how they get a pipe big enough to
That's
do
a
that.
swimming pool.
See, that's not gonna happen with the water hose.
That's a swimming pool. Yes.
No, I don't, that goes side
I don't.
range.
We'll continue to watch it. We're gonna get down there, shut some stuff off and see if we can, figure something out. So Smith Harbor, I don't know, I think Ron, you got it in the packet. Did you get that little?
It's there.
Yeah. So, I don't know where mine is. There's about 6 poles that we should be able to get out of it, be able to take down. And, I don't see mine.
It's stapled to agenda 5, right behind it.
So if you look in this north corner here, there's a pole right in the corner. It's got a floodlight on. it. We're gonna keep that one. That other one is an old kind of an abandoned meter loop. The next one up is the one that's running across. It was kind of a construction, it was for a construction meter for the Navarreses. Then there's another meter loop that's really, we need to save it. We may need it for something. The next pole.
Across the street in front of my house.
Yes.
That
I wondered
one,
what that was. I wondered what that was.
well, the one that'll have to stay, of course, you can see right down here to the south, there's 2 poles, there's nothing on them, those 2 could go. The only ones that really will stay is the one that comes off of, what is the street up above, Jody? Leona, that right of way. And from what, Jody had kind of worked on this with AEP and they don't have an easement along that. So,
That line, I believe, is the one where it goes across.
and it,
That's where the, what you call it? Our little marina building used to be before the
we
hurricane.
probably don't want to tear, I mean, I guess we could delete that line, but I don't know if all their plans, I'm not sure exactly what all, the downtown and waterfront master plan consists of in that area. But, we may need that power there when we get to that point, so.
Is that something that Martin McDonald has looked at or will look at?
No, I mean, no, we can look at this and decide, the only thing on that one, I think we just need to verify that where that, the floodlight is, that it's being fed from the north, not that south pole. 'Cause
Yes,
that south pole is
yes,
a relatively new pole,
Right, no, yes,
but
exactly.
like I said, AP told me they didn't have an easement, so.
If they don't have an easement and we don't need it, then
Yeah, right, that's what we're proposing.
unless Mark McDonald says, no, we've got clubhouse we're going to put there or something.
Down there, but I don't,
Be nice.
Be 6
I
or
mean,
7 years in.
and that's a discussion to have with them, so.
But anyway, yeah,
It's like when we look at putting the boardwalk in there, we'll want power on that boardwalk, so that overhead, we might wanna leave it, but,
And the power company's gonna remove these, or we are, it's our nickel or their nickel?
we haven't looked into that yet.
no, we hadn't gotten that far. I had put this drawing together and sent it to Doug on last year. And I thought I would just kind of throw it in the packet, we could talk about it, because I mean, it's come up in the past meetings.
I think the objective is to get cleaned up what we can.
Yes.
Get cleaned up.
Yes. So, anyway. Let's see, then we'll get down here to the Harbor Refuge. Well, let me back up here. I did talk to Gonzalez, and they're gonna start tearing up another section, or 2 more sections of that parking lot at the high school. And he's gonna bring us some more shell to put around Poor Boys to play. So. And when we get that done, he's gonna come out there and dress that up, and then we'll get back on that, what we dumped on along the bulkhead, clean that up and get rid of the markets.
So they're gonna come in and put stuff at Poor Boys and then the backside where the boathouse used to be?
There are already some open. The problem is it was so wet, we weren't able to, spread it
I
out.
remember last time y'all got stuck or something.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway. In Harbor Refuge. All right, I talked to Gasper Deanna let's see, what day was that, the 13th. I guess that was a Thursday. But in any case, I talked to him about, kind of what the plan was, with the dredge down there. And I told him, there's been some talk about maybe moving it somewhere else in the harbor. He would like to have it in Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
But
So good.
he's afraid it's gonna cost too much money to get it down. There's gonna be another hearing in April. And he feels like that the judge is gonna come back and say, look, we're gonna put this thing for sale, get rid of it, and each one of you are gonna get X number of dollars of the proceeds from.
And he's paying monthly,
Yeah.
Yeah,
regularly?
$200
I'm sorry, sir?
$7,200 a month, I believe it is.
It's the old adage, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Just let him keep writing those checks then.
And Gonzalez Construction, they finished phase 2 on the dirt spreading. We do still have a lot of dirt out there. I need to get down there with a drone and kind of put a plan together to see exactly where we need to go with a lot of this dirt. We've already filled in a bunch of low spots, but I know there's some stuff back further to the, I guess you'd say the northwest area. There's some really low spots in there that we need to probably start trying to work on.
Does your little drone, does it have LiDAR ability to tell you, hey, you're a foot or 2 foot high, or is just a picture?
Just a picture.
well, I mean,
And I think Derek's got a brand new one that has that technology, I think.
well, I mean, remember, where are we with, trying to get rid of the brush enough that civil court can do their topo? So that's,
Well,
because that,
the weeds
they
are
would
still,
provide that.
the weeds are still way high out there. And, the plan was, when we're pushing dirt, tracking through there, we just knock it down as we go, The brush piles, I told Felipe, I said, just run over the top of the brush piles and cover it with dirt, is what I told him. Cause we're not gonna haul it off and we can't burn it, so that's kind of what we've been doing. But it's kind of on me at the moment. I need to kind of get down there and spend a few hours and try to figure out really where we need to focus on moving most of that material, so.
We can ask someone to look at it again. I mean, clearly their drone for topo work is gonna be more sophisticated than anything else. And then that would show us where the low spots are, if they can do it with the brush cover.
Well, they're pretty, it's pretty easy to see. I mean, those spots don't have a whole lot of grass, a lot of brush on it, so.
I guess Felipe's been doing long enough, just
The
that
big-
eyeball will tell him where it needs to be.
The biggest thing is to, keep the dirt down, so we don't, we never stop bringing dirt in. That's the big thing, so.
Keep covering and filling.
Of course, they're still bringing the material in there, and then, of course, I just left the weed control on there. I haven't looked at that.
Got any risk of fire in
Sir,
there, Jim, like today, and humidity is 0, and winds are going 35, 40 knots? We get a fire down there, we're gonna lose control and come across and I wasn't worried about just the brush that were down there. Which we ought to do something about that, I would think.
all that old stuff we pushed up, it's pretty rotten now, so you put that dozer, it pretty much,
Yeah,
just flattens it all out, so. Yeah, if we got a fire down there, it might not be good,
we'd probably burn all those houses.
depending on what direction. Of course, it's not gonna ever be out of the west, because we don't get west winds very
No, but
often.
today it's from the southeast, it's 30, 35 knots, so.
That might not be too bad, though. That might be a pretty decent wind. It's gonna fog you in.
Maybe it's a good day to go down and light it.
No.
Well, you didn't hear that.
All right, let's move on to agenda item 6. New business, discuss tariff circular number.
I put this back in the packet, just, put it back in front of y'all. I have not received any, comments from you. I know the last meeting we had, talked a little bit about it, and the thought was, you know, whether anybody's got any more comments or whether we're ready for he and I to sit down with that, I need to go over it again. Remember, you know, the idea is to review this with the Marine attorney, but do so, using the smallest amount of hours available. So in order to do that, I want to make sure we did sit down with them, that we were, given a document that the fire report commission had approved. So I don't know that y'all are ready to do that yet, but, you know, make sure to take time to actually read it and, you know, submit comments to me, so then we can address anything or looks good.
It'd be good to sit down and kick this around with Raymond some, see if we can't get some of his input into it.
I mean, we just looked at it, the last time that the committee, it was Raymond and Larry and Jamie, I think. And I think Robert was in one of those meetings as well. The last time we really sat down and looked at it in detail.
And the rates have already been approved by the city council.
Put those in rate schedule, so this is just operations and, you know, rules, that sort of thing.
Let me talk to Raymond just briefly and see if I can. He's been so busy and had time to talk, so maybe I can get a hold of him. Busy him just a little bit. If there's anything in here that don't seem to need or need more of.
I read through it and all the names are correct. It had the wrong name when it comes to City Port of Victoria or whatever. And it's got the right names.
You know, we talked about putting the parking in here. Well, that would include our tariffs. You know, because we have,
Yeah.
the parking is a continual irritant, so. Maybe,
You know, I can report briefly, I have talked to the property owner, SB Steel that owns that property where the parking lot is. And last time I talked to her on the phone, she was still trying to find it in their system on her side. I've emailed her about 3 times since then, and she hasn't answered me back yet. So I'm not sure where that's at, because I told her we were interested in, I mean, one, was there something signed that they got in their files? If not, then we're interested in either a long-term lease or consider purchasing the property.
The only thing we've actually got available at the Harbor Refuge is, I think it's track 1 by the railroad tracks, or it's a 1 acre tract behind the Helena building.
Actually, it's what we call track 14.
Is that 14?
There's 2 tracks in there. There's 1 track along, that's the wooded area, and then there's like an acre. And
I mentioned that because it ties on to the peninsula. It's possible they could be interested in cleaning that up and using that for parking. You know, at the present time, it's an excellent rail spur, but we don't have a rail right now. So that has been laid fallow. We used it for a laydown yard when they were constructing the Helena building. The folks that brought that in, went in there, cleaned it up, solidified it a little bit, and used it for their laydown yard over there. I don't know if you've thought about or mentioned that to Hillary, if they're needing a place to stick cars and stuff that are convenient
Well, yeah,
for
it would,
business.
it would need, I mean, we had looked at that, but I think it was we needed to do somebody had to do just a brush cleanup.
Well, if you remember, Helena wanted to lease that for a truck rack. I didn't want to do that.
Never happened.
But y'all might keep that front seat. For some reason, you're saying it's part of track 14, that has just been ignored. That's really the only thing that's left out there
Right.
until we get the landfill covered and get some clay and just clean that area up. I was looking at that $600,000 and it's turning a hole in my pocket. May need to break down and spend some of that money and finish up that landfill site. I'll be thinking about that.
Maybe some riprap,
I'm sorry, sir.
maybe some riprap on the peninsula.
There you go.
There you
There you
I
go.
got a question for you, Joe.
I would hate to lose it.
On the rail.
Reason we don't have a harbor refuge anymore.
I was reading the last line about free time. Free time and rail storage should be calculated based on,
Page you on?
17.
Oh, this isn't in here. That's why it's kind of blued out.
Yeah, it's kind of blued out.
This was something we took out, but something that, do we need something like this in? That's the question.
That statement's not right in the bottom.
Oh, I think this was, this came from either Victoria or West Side County Navigation District or both. It's just there. I don't have it in here now, but
Okay.
do we need something like this? And yeah, we need some expertise, and if we do.
We'll get that point then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed that entire conversation. James, please, Jamie.
What's that?
I missed that entire conversation.
No, I was just questioning on,
What?
I was on page 17.
17 of the circular.
Bottom line is right now, there's nothing in there talking about rail operations and transloading. But do we need something? I think this was copied from either Port Victoria or the West Side Navigation District, or possibly both. And so do we need something like this in ours? And if so, how does it need to be worded?
Do we need it, Jamie?
Well, I just, that last line. Free time and rail storage should be calculated based on when railcars are brought to the point of rest at the port for arrival. I can understand that. And then when they're removed for
I
departure.
think we had talked, we weren't gonna have it free time, so maybe. Right? I don't know.
I don't know, I just, if I release a car to the railroad and they don't come pick it up for 2 weeks, am I responsible for that?
Well, that's the question, right?
See, we got into that one.
Yeah.
Because they
They
come when they
don't
want,
come down here until they got a reason to
they
come.
come when they want to.
No,
Right.
I was just reading that, I had a question.
I mean, that is something we need to work out.
They replaced a lot of the railroad in the last 60, 90 days.
Yeah.
A lot of them, maybe half, 2/3 of them.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So that makes me, they had plans for it, or I wouldn't think they'd spend a nickel, let's say,
I wouldn't,
eventually gonna get used to it. Or you think that's wrong? You think you'd spend it anyway?
I wouldn't expect them to spend anything on it the way they are.
They're just replacing those, all the wood rails, not rails, but the ties.
You know, that whole line.
Okay, that's all I
I
had.
know I haven't had any conversations.
Do we add it now instead of waiting for the rail to be restored? So in the future, it'll be available and won't be up for debate?
No, I think we do need to put something in there, or have that discussion, you know, and putting in our tariff if in fact we.
And you think we need to add it, Jamie?
I'd like to know what they're responsible for in their contract. Is that part of their, that's not part of their lease?
No, I mean, it says abide by the tariff.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, this is not, this document is not specific to any leasing This is the general document that all leaseholders need to comply with.
So I guess let me rephrase my question. So rail use is not included in their, the,
We don't know. I mean, that's part of the discussion. They,
I thought we just talked about this a while back and it was.
yeah, they are paying, $1,000 a month maintenance on the rail.
But they don't get it.
And now we're gonna charge them to store cars on it? They're paying maintenance for?
Yeah, you know. Still paying it.
Still paying.
They don't get it,
Huh?
and they're not getting it now. And
I understand that.
I don't know when they're gonna get it.
No, I think that does need to be worked out, how we want.
Yeah, you must start thinking about that.
Okay.
We then, as the Port Commission, need to really zero in on this whole document, highlight it, and get it ready. If it does get approved, it's already been approved, you know, highlight it and send it back to council. Add
I've not seen it.
Add that particular piece to it.
I gave him a kind of a preview copy, but it has not been sent to council yet.
Why don't we plan on doing it for our next meeting?
Yeah, I will do that. I mean, the original plan is that Port Commission would approve the document. And Raymond and I were gonna just have a meeting with the marine attorney to go through it and make sure it's in, from a legal standpoint, it's good, and then we'll take it to council.
Let me ask another question. I'm just thinking about what you said a minute ago. The $1,000 a month is added into their lease, right, for maintenance?
They are paying $100.
How long has that been? It's been.
Several years, I mean, it's been.
We put that in there, right? Didn't we put that in? Wasn't I here when we put that in there?
Yeah.
We added it to the table, yes.
So. And I know that's been out for over a year, right?
Yes.
Where's that money going to? I know it ain't going into the maintenance. They ain't done anything on our side of it.
I mean, it's going into.
I knew I had it, but I couldn't find it.
Fix it fund.
It needs to be at least worked on. I mean.
We're waiting for the culvert.
I understand that, but
But I mean, we had, prior to that happening, we had spent quite a bit of money and fixed the rail on our side.
Yeah, we didn't spend like.
Spent $100,000, 85.
It was that much, but I know we spent 40 and then, we'd spent like that.
doesn't mean we don't need to maintain it. That was my point.
Yeah,
Well, I figured what, and I just asked Jody the other day about what you thought was a good time frame. Get the new crossing put in, and she's thinking at least a year. So, my thought is whenever we get, whenever it looks like we're gonna be close, to come in there and start putting it in, maybe we'll get Jim and them back down here, and we'll probably have to bid it, cause that stuff is so expensive. Get them down there, 3 or 4 months prior to having all that finished, and so we're to be good to go whenever that crossing is complete.
We just don't want it to be forgot about.
No. Well, we'll put him back on the quarterly, cause we were on quarterly inspections with him, kind of keep the monkey off our back, liability wise, so. I don't know how long we've been doing that. We've been doing that for quite a few years now.
Right now, is we will not be allowed to put in city money into that railroad.
Right.
The city council will not approve it, not from what I hear. So we have to get it through grant money. If we don't get the grant money, we can't do it. So
Well, the grant
that's kind of
money-
high up.
The grant money's come.
it was
It is
approved.
coming.
That's what I've been hearing for some time, and when it comes, I'll.
Well, you only have it.
Birthday cake in the middle.
Only in the last, 3 or 4 weeks, anything
Yeah.
prior to that was just, yes, but yeah, it was officially approved about. weeks.
All right, let's move on to agenda item 9. It says comments from commissioners. Larry,
Not doing that. We're not doing 8, 7 leases.
sir?
We're not doing the leases.
I don't think we have,
Yes, we do, we've got,
where did I miss it?
I'm ready to go to 9, but I think.
Okay, well, we're going to go to a closed session. Huh, okay. Announced by the commissioner that we're going to retire to a closed session, deliberate, exchange, lease values, real property. It would have a detrimental effect of the position of the governmental body in the negotiation with a third party in accordance with chapter 551, title 5, section 551.072 of Texas Government Code. All right, we are now back in order and back in closed session. It is 12.
Having, okay, I'm on you to go.
We had discussion on an Encore lease that we'd like to move forward, present to the city. All in favor of accepting Ms. Jody's recommendations, say aye. I need a motion
Oh, yeah.
to accept Ms. Jody's recommendations and the discussion of the members.
I'd move that. I move that we accept Jody's recommendations, which include a 3-year lease and include $9,000 on both parts that were you got that, Jody, and tariffs for things over 14 days. That dockage for things over 14 days. I think those are the 3 elements that we
Minimum
discussed.
2% MCI.
Yes, MCI and.
Minimum.
Yes.
All right. Do I have a second on that? Have a second from Jane? We've had a lot of discussion, but is there any discussion? Then I call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We have 4 or 5 yays.
No,
Any nays?
no.
Mike McGuire is a nay. Now we're gonna get to the good part. Motion carries. Agenda item 9, comments from the commission.
It's spring break, man. That's good. Good.
No comments from Larry, no comments from Ms. Traylor. Amy,
Good.
Robert,
Just, we've got some money to spend, I think now, right? Our coffers are
they're getting better.
getting better. Is maybe people start thinking about what we want to spend that money on. So.
Where's Raymond when you need him? Mr. McGuire?
Nothing.
No comment. With that being said, I have no comments. Also, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I have a motion to adjourn. Ms. Sue seconds that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no nays, motion carries.
I'll have.
Thank you for today.
All right, it's time for lunch. Oh, yeah. I got it.
Round 5%.
I'm the